Hey guys, how you doing? I hope you're doing well. We're back with another inbox video. I know, so soon. The emails are actually starting to come in a little more frequently now, so that's exciting. But before I begin, I need to apologize in advance. This gameplay you're watching is hot ass, alright? It wasn't my hottest day on the game. I don't want to hear about it in the comments, okay? But anyways, let's just get started with the question. What's up, dude? Been watching your video since around March. I want to say I think you make some great content and are a very down-to-earth person. Thank you, man. I have a fairly heavy question to ask, but I feel what you may have to say on the topic could help me out. Also, as I just wrote that, I could almost feel the pressure I'm putting on you to have some immaculate answer that solves all my problems. Please don't feel that way. I am just genuinely curious as to what you would have to say. Hey man, I'll do my best, alright? I'm 19 years old and just finished my first year of college. Up to this point in my life, I have been extremely blessed to not have experienced any major losses of loved ones. For the last 7 months or so, my dog, 6 years old, has been very sick with an autoimmune disease. He is on his last stretch as I send this message. Highly likely he is gone by the time you read this. I could sit here and try and explain our relationship and what it means to me, but I would be here all night. Just understand that he is very special to me, and this has been a hard time considering I have never experienced true loss. Just wondering if you would be able to share any advice or own experiences to help me out. Much love, keep up the good vids, and stay blessed. Hey, I'm sorry about your dog, man. No matter how or when it happens, it'll just never feel right, so I hope you and your family are doing well. But this is a very interesting question because for the most part, I'm in the same position as you, brother. After I read your email, I quickly looked back on my channel and remembered that about 9 months ago, I made a video talking about this exact thing. I never experienced death. And I sounded exactly like you here, acknowledging the blessing of not knowing that. And today, as I'm making this video, I still haven't experienced that, and I don't fully know. Now, I'm kind of not being totally honest with you there. I did kind of experience it through proximity back in March with the passing of my fiance's grandmother. She unfortunately had cancer and passed away. But it was definitely rough, even if it wasn't my direct family. I grew close to her and I cherished her deeply in the time that I did know her. And although it wasn't my direct family and I didn't grieve as hard and for as long as my fiance and her family did, I think that I had gone through the same feeling that everyone would go through where life kind of just stops, right? Like it's crazy how someone I cared about is no longer on this earth and I'll never see them again. They're merely just a memory now. And I'm just expected to just go to work the next day and deal with shitty people. Like, that's messed up. But yeah, after they'd initially passed for me, at least for the next week, time kind of just became blurry. The days kind of felt meaningless. It just felt off, like that's the best way I can put it. And any thought of the deceased, like going forward, would just make a bad day even worse. Even if I was distracted with what was going on at work and if I was mad about that, if I would just think about them, it would just make it even worse. And I'm mad at a whole separate issue now. Seeing their pictures when going back to the house or seeing videos back, it's just like, wow, this is actual reality, and it puts into perspective how valuable life is. That you can just wake up one day and someone will just never be there again. And it sucks, man. Again, I'm really sorry to hear about your dog. I know that must be difficult to lose a companion like that, so my condolences again. I know for me personally, for the advice that I can give, it's definitely going to be hard for a while, especially when you think you're getting some level of normalcy back, and then all of a sudden the thought comes back and it just stops you at your tracks, It definitely will be a really hard season. But like I said before, you still got to go to work. Right? Like you still have to go to school, if you're in school, but like life doesn't stop. And as much as it sucks and as much as it should, life isn't gonna stop for us. For me right now personally, a death in the family will sting and it will take over our lives for a season, right? We'll want to isolate, we'll want to disconnect from the internet or just distance from friends. But eventually, as life does what it does, which is never chill out, we're gonna have so much on our plate that we're gonna be always on the move and we're kind of going to be forced to move on from the rut that we're in. Not that we're necessarily going to forget our loved one or we're gonna move on in, the snap of a finger. But the reality is that with all things, it will be put down off of the pedestal that we have it as the next big thing in our life takes priority. You're gonna be sad, you're gonna be mourning, but as time goes on, little by little, and sometimes you won't even notice, but you're going to wake up feeling better. You're just gonna notice you're going to feel a little lighter. And that's not you being a terrible person, that's just time doing its natural thing and we're just adapting to this new world where, unfortunately, our loved one just isn't there anymore. As corny as it sounds, time will heal your wounds. Like I don't think there's a more corny saying, but like truthfully, like that will happen. You will wake up one day and you will feel a little lighter. You won't be all that sad anymore. And even now, there are days where after so long of not really thinking about it, it just hits like a truck and you feel like you're back at square one, just remembering them and reminiscing in life when they were here and reliving the realization that they're not here anymore. But that truck hitting you out of nowhere, it is a good thing. Now stay with me here, but going through that firsthand and seeing my fiance go through that, it reminds me of the video with Andrew Garfield on Sesame Street. And he was talking to Elmo in Sesame Street, right? And I'm sorry. It's not funny that he was with Elmo, okay? It's just random bringing up Sesame Street in a topic like this, but stay with me, all right? Andrew was talking about grief, right? And he was talking about the passing of his mom. And he talks about sadness with death, right? And how that feeling of sadness towards the loss of a loved one is honestly a gift. Because that sadness means you really missed someone. And when you miss someone, you just can't help it, right? You just start remembering things about them. You remember moments with them that might have shaped you. You remember their smile or a joke they might have said. You remember lessons that they taught you, or you remember the kind of affection you received from them, the words of encouragement, the cuddles. In this case with your dog, maybe you remember playing with them when you get home, walking them around, having conversations with your dog, even though they can't talk back, but you deep down knew they were following what you were saying. But yeah, that loss of life, that grief, it is a beautiful thing. It doesn't need to be miserable the whole time. It shows you're human. It shows that you value life, and this experience will allow you to look at life more differently. It'll make you feel more human. Our lives are really short. We can never live long enough, and I feel that death shows us how precious life really is. Just try not to isolate yourself in this time, man. I'm assuming this was the family dog, so stay close to your family in this time if you haven't already. Don't completely shut yourself out. This world is a very broken one, but one thing that I find beautiful about death is that it always seems to bring the living together. It invites us to be compassionate towards one another and remind each other that we aren't really alone. So reach out to someone if you haven't already, actually allow people to be there for you. They're your friends for a reason. They're your family for a reason. But that's all I really had to say on this. Again, I'm sorry about your dog, man. I hope you and your family are doing well, and I hope I gave you the response you were looking for. Thank you so much for watching. Please take care and be well.